Good morning, dear friends, everyone who can see me right now on the screen of your monitors and here in the studio. If you don't see me, then turn on the screen or your imagination. I think that it's working perfectly fine, even though that today it's a Sunday and it's 10 a.m. So let's wake up and get connected. Stay tuned. So guys who received our link to our Zoom session, turn on your cameras and get connected. Today we are waiting for TikToks, overviews for different games and podcasts of Russian rappers. Well, somewhere they will be there, but not here exactly, because right here and right now I would like to welcome you to the closing and opening of the official competition, Artificial Intelligence International Junior Contest, that was organized by Sber in the sphere of artificial intelligence not long ago. So offline parts finally was closed, and the task was those who went through the qualification stage was supposed to form some teams and also to come up with certain solutions and provide concrete solutions for our users to tackle different things. And ecosystem specialists from this company, from Sber, are now working on that. An expert from there helped our participants in the competition to participate in masterclass, answer different questions, etc. And later on, they will share some of their secrets and also tell us a bit more about our main quizzes and tasks in the framework of the competition. But the most important ultimate goal that brought us together is all about finding who will make it to the finals and those who will be fighting for a very serious financial award. So I suggest that we should take a look at some of the impressive figures.
Призовой фонд конкурса – 13 миллионов рублей. Более 26 тысяч регистраций. Участники от 8 до 17 лет. Из 103 стран мира и более чем 3000 населенных пунктов. 1800.
So the number of solutions loaded. So, I should say that the scale is really huge, but in fact it is even better. I would like to share some statistics with you. Over 26,000 people participated in the competition. Just for you to understand, the same number of people live in the Crimean city of Bakhchisarai, but the geography is vaster than that. In fact, we incorporated 130 countries from all over the world. That is why in the name of the contest we have this word international, and the average age of participants is 14 years, and the youngest one is only 8 years old. And the first loaded solutions, we saw it a long time ago, but the latest one was loaded before, just 1 minute before the deadline on the 6th of October. It was done by CyberEye from Nizhny Novgorod, and the longest way from the registration to the loaded solution also made a lot of days, I would say even months. The spectrum of tasks done by the teams. Actually, we had 10 absolutely different tracks, and today the best team will make it to the finals. And experts and trackers came over to this audience and to this hall just to participate in this procedure. The most important part of our contest is still ahead, and there is a lot of work to do. But before we start, we have a unique opportunity to finally see each other here all together, and I would like to invite all the participants to the studio. No, you don't have to rush here, just stay in front of your screen, in front of your computers with your cameras on in Zoom, and now we're about to make it to our studio. Here you can see, yes, I can see it. And can we just scroll a little bit? So many people, so many participants, and despite the fact that we have a really big screen, still we didn't manage to fit all the participants in one screen. But even through the monitors, I can see that the eyes of our participants are sparkling. We are all waiting for the results. So let's welcome each other. Let's do it in the following way. If you can see and hear what is happening right now, just raise one hand and wave it in your screen. Yes, I can see you. And now just raise your second hand if you are absolutely persuaded that you will win. Well, fantastic, great. And that is great because you should always be self-confident and be sure that you have enough power to make it to the victory. Please stay tuned, stay with us because we will be waiting for some feedback from you. And now it's time to proceed to the official opening of the final stage of our contest. And now we would like to invite to the stage Senior Manager, Managing Director of the Development of the Competences for Data Research, Sberbank, Andrei Chertok. Good morning. Hello, everyone. I hope that you can hear me. I hope that you can see me. Yes, we can hear you, Andrei. See you perfectly well. So I'm really sorry if we have some lags with the broadcasting, but I hope that everything will be fine. First of all, I would like to welcome everyone who joined our event. And I should say that this is a very important large-scale event, and it's great that we can also get together online and see each other. Today we are about to proceed to the online stage of our contest, Artificial Intelligence International Junior Contest, and we will select our winners, our finalists, and then we'll keep on working with us. We see that there is a big interest for artificial intelligence amongst youngsters all around the world, and right now Sber actually taken a lot of initiatives in this domain, and over 1,800,000 people, school and the youngsters have already joined it. And despite the fact that such a contest is being organized for the first time ever, still it was said that over 26,000 people from over 100 countries applied for participation in this contest, which tells us a lot about the scale and geography of this contest. And a lot of people, for the first time ever, managed finally to work with artificial intelligence, the use of it, at the same time working with some real tasks and problems. We also provided our participants with a big number of different educational, scientific materials from Sber, and also for the company called Allianz in the sphere of artificial intelligence. In the framework of a contest, 2 online boot camps in the framework of artificial intelligence that use was organized, and over 2,100 people were involved in this work. They actually were really active, interested in new technologies that can be used for solving different social and business problems. In fact, we received over 2,000 solutions with a big number of tracks, and it was monitored by ecosystems, Sber, AIIJC, VR lab, robotics lab, and so on and so forth, Sber Mobile, and also neuro science lab. It's really great that we have such an opportunity to see a big number of different tasks, aspects of the Sber ecosystem, and that they can be used for working with a big number of different things. I'm absolutely sure that this practical work and our skills allow to make a very first step forward to a very successful career in the sphere of artificial intelligence. And one of the particularities of this contest is teamwork. Special attention was attributed to this particular thing because if you can work in a team, in an efficient team, in a very tight team, then you can definitely make face to all the challenges that the human kind is being exposed to right now. When we talk about technologies, it's an integral part of our life, and I'm not talking just about artificial intelligence, but also we need to know how to work with real products, how to create them. It's very important. Yes, you can create a certain artificial intelligence model and algorithm, work with data, but further on, you should make sure that actually people can use it. And when it comes to full-fledged products, real products, this is a more complicated issue. And I do really hope that in the framework of this contest, our participants also learned how to do that. So today we will announce our winners, our finalists, and they will be entitled to prizes in 10 nominations. So accordingly, they will also participate in the plenary session of the conference AIIJC that will be conducted in November in Moscow. Starting from the 10th of November. It's going to be a really important event with a lot of speakers, and it's going to be a great party. I mean, a real networking, and I hope that everyone will definitely enjoy it. Again and again, I would like to thank all the participants, and just for the time's matter and saving, I would like to say thank you for your interest for artificial intelligence, and wish our participants all the best and good luck. Andrei, thank you very much. So, dear friends, your attention, we are about to start. So, dear colleagues, what is the difference between our contest and other contests? Usually, we invite stars, and they show up in the finals. But I would like to start with someone you definitely know. But before that, I would like to ask you to do a simple task compared to the rest of some other tasks within the competition. Today we prepared for you a number of precious prizes, and you can fight for them starting from the very beginning. And to do that, you should have an opportunity to send your comments on YouTube. First, you need to get registered, and if you are registered there, then accordingly now you just need to log in and enter your account, which is really important. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave your comments. I'm absolutely sure that you will do it very quickly, and as soon as you get registered, please send us a plus sign in the chat, comments under the broadcasting. And while you are doing that, meanwhile, I would like to entertain you a little bit with some interesting facts regarding artificial intelligence. For example, the term itself, artificial intelligence, when did it actually was coined? It was coined in 1956 in a Dortmund conference, and David Benioff graduated from this educational establishment, and he actually created the Game of Thrones. And the definition itself, the word artificial intelligence, appeared a long time ago, and over 4 billion different devices are equipped right now with artificial intelligence. And I can see that, I can see some comments coming over, even in China, a lot of pluses. Well, that is fantastic. Yes, someone wants to get a T-shirt, a merch. That is great. I think that, yes, everything is fine with our feedback. We are now receiving feedback from our audience. So the first stage of our quiz will be conducted a little bit later. And now, as promised, we are going to give the floor to a very interesting guest. And since you got registered and you logged in on YouTube, it gives you an opportunity to address your questions to our guest. And while he will be taking the floor, you can address all those questions to the speaker, and I will select a couple of interesting questions and ask them. So again, if you have questions during the presentation of our guests, then you can address this question in our chat. So let's just check out whether everything is okay with our feedback. feedback, whether we are receiving it correctly. I'm going to give you some hints or tips regarding our guest, and in the comments, just write who you think this person is. The first one, he is a biologist. This guest is a biologist, so let's give it a try. What if we receive the right answer just like that, straight away? Just give us some names, biologist. If you're interested in artificial intelligence, well, it's not Louis Pasteur, Valera Babushkin. Yes, we received some of the first comments. Wait. That is incredible. There is a person who actually sent us the right name. I should say that this person makes friends with elephants rather than computers, but at the same time, he is interested in computers. And today he will tell us about what actually artificial intelligence knows about our intelligence, and that they should somehow come to terms. Artificial intelligence and our natural intelligence. And it's my pleasure to invite Ilya Kolmanovsky in our studio. Welcome. Hello, Ilya. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for inviting me here. Well, in fact, I'm a little bit nervous because I can see that a lot of people are now watching me, and so they know how neural networks work. It's really interesting for me to, as a biologist, to also work with this issue. And I remember 7 years ago when I just started to talk about this issue, about this domain, I realized that those who work with neural network, in fact, they copied some basic properties of the brain cortex layers, and we just took this information regarding layers as how our brain organized. That was quite a rough copy, but then they use it in their work, and I'm still keeping a very close eye on. I just interview people. I have my own podcast, and I work in this domain with all those issues. And actually, right now, people are now trying to work with artificial intelligence a little bit differently, just to make sure that also artificial intelligence has some memories from childhood, and to do that, they also need to work with children. They want to teach artificial intelligence to miss something, to think about some memories from the past. It's not like it was the case with Alan Turing. Of course, we have moved a big step forward, but now technologies are developing, and in this sense, we should interact and cooperate with each other, and also receive some information from biologists. But now, recently, over the past 2 years, we have seen quite also a reverse trend. The point is that artificial intelligence is studying right now some vivid life systems, for example, our brain, and it works with very difficult, complicated tasks, usually done and by our brain. Thinks about how proteins work in our body, works with some biological issues, and I should say that biology and this biological domain is also supported by artificial intelligence as well. So we can see that those two sciences go hand in hand together right now. They are interconnected. But what particularly interesting for me, and I would like to discuss with you, so I'm going to have a really personal discussion with you. The point is that artificial intelligence works with a big number of different biological things and tasks, and does it a little bit differently compared to how human beings do that. But sometimes artificial intelligence solves certain tasks, but it's not possible for the artificial intelligence to explain how it was done. I'm very much intrigued. I'm just trying to summarize and explain what I meant to say. The point is that your generation of computer scientists have to work with this particular issue, this task. We needed to make neural networks explain how they do something and the way it was done.
For example, one of my interlocutors, Ian Brookford, he's not a scientist. He broke his neck 10 years ago. I hunted him like a real paparazzi. And finally, I wrote on the Instagram of the dog of the wife of his brother. And finally, he answered me. This is an interesting story. He lost control and sensitivity of 4 extremities. He was one of the first volunteers. Actually, volunteers were selected quite a long time ago. for this serious surgery. General anesthesia was used. Cranial trepanation was done, and about 100 leads were introduced into his brain. Now probably even thousands of electrodes are introduced into the brain for such surgeries, and these electrodes, these leads, can read information. So after that, the wound heals. A specific cap is used, specific lead is fixed there, and he comes to the lab. It's possible to connect a computer to this tap, and in that case, the scientists can get access to the traffic in his motor cortex that is visible when he thinks of taking something in his hand. And he says that he came to the lab on the first day, and his neural net, so I can say that this is like protein net connected the silicon net, and the dialogue was established quite fast. Neural network out of this flow of impetus that is quite senseless for us, learned how to classify the bursts in his motor cortex. So the neural net realized that these kind of bursts means that he wants to turn his hand to contract specific muscles in his forearm, and after that you can see that computer sends electrodes to his muscles and they stimulate his muscles from the skin. He thinks, I want to take this object. A computer takes it for him. And this was the first paralyzed person that can play Guitar Hero game. Probably some of you are able to do it, but this is the only paralyzed person that is able to do it. And he does it quite well. And there is an evident intrigue here. Actually, we do not understand exactly how the brain works, and we cannot understand in details what the whole process of neural impetus is, how it goes from my motor cortex to my muscles when I want to take an object. Theoretically, we understand the way it functions, but in details we cannot reproduce or program this system for it to contract his muscles, and it would be great if this system could explain us how such simple thing as movement is structured, because a generation of scientists have changed on this chip. This chip works longer than it was supposed, and the new generation of scientists, you know, the chip can be compared with a space sheep that can walk along Mars longer than we expected, and all the scientists noticed another signal there. It is present, as if this is a full-blown working station in space. They had another signal in his brain, and they found out the following. You can see it on the right picture. It turned out that his brain, when thinking about taking something in the hand, generates not only thoughts of movement, but also thoughts of senses. If now you try to put your hand on your table, on some object, on a cup of tea, you should not look attentively on the way you do it. But Ian has to do it because he cannot feel it, and actually the success of our breathing actions is associated with this feeling of sense, because the brain can ask the hand how it is going, but this paralyzed person doesn't have this ability, and they discussed this issue with Ian, what kind of upgrade he would like to receive, and he would really want to get sensitivity. It turned out that the brain gets information about the feeling from somewhere. It means that skin receptors generate this information, then he touches something and the information goes through the broken link to the brain, but the signal is only 10%. It is not enough to have a subjective feeling, I'm touching something, I've taken something, but the brain knows about it, but does not tell his conscience about it. Computer knows it as well, but it cannot tell us about these signals in the brain, how they're structured. But the computer resolves a practical task. Here we can see this purple signal, purple and pink signal, signal, it is mixed thoughts of movement and feeling, and after that neural network divides these two signals. It cannot explain us how they are structured in the brain, but it resolves the practical tasks, divides them, and the blue signal, that is pure signal about the movement that he wants to take it, reaches the electrode in his forearm, he takes what he wanted to take, and the red signal that is purified, that is feeling signal, reaches a very powerful cuff on his shoulder that squeezes it. When we touch something lightly, he will not feel it subjectively, but if he is strongly squeezed at the level of shoulder, he will feel it. And after that, the information from the shoulder goes to the brain, and that is natural information, and he can feel it. And he is also very happy, saying that 6 years after the first surgery, for the first time, his interface was switched on, and for the first time he felt that when his arm touched something, he squeezed. And after that, the brain can resolve the task and cannot tell us the way it resolves it. The brain can translate this language of strong squeeze into the language of subtle feelings that he has known since childhood, and he learned it really fast. And after that, with his eyes closed, he could understand whether his hand was in vacuum or it is on a specific object. It means that the brain can translate from one language to another. It has learned to understand that. We don't know how. We really want someone to explain it to us. Another case. It was also on the news this year, and this is the cover of Nature journal. This is the most prestigious scientific journal. Imagine that there is a paralyzed person, and this person needs to somehow communicate with others, but they're not able to do so. You know, many people complain, why do we teach children to write by hand? This is archaic, outdated. Why do we actually need it at all? Because today it is possible to print, but fortunately, in the head of this person there is the algorithm. His brain, his muscles knows what it means to write by hand, and neural network learned to read signals from his motor cortex that he wants to write something, and now neural network can write on the screen much faster than he could print before, blinking with his eye. But how is it all structured in the brain? We don't know it. Artificial intelligence could explain it to us. Probably you will understand how else. Using these wonderful instruments, we can write these interfaces for them to explain us the essence. For this purpose, we need to enter quite a high level of generalization. And finally, he can write quite fast. A very radical case related to movement. Now I'm speaking about movement, although this is speech, but actually speech, it means that he's thinking how he writes. So this is movement. We can think of other types of movement, for example, voice, muscle movement that are active now, and you can get the sound wave. These are muscles. It means that it's possible to be decoded. This is another case, a patient after a stroke that cannot talk, but his brain remembers how to articulate words. We do not know how it is all structured in the brain. This is one of the most important mysteries in neuroscience, but artificial intelligence can read it. He also has this connector, and the artificial intelligence can read this information, and the speed is quite good. These words appear on the screen. For the first time, this person has not been able to talk for a very long time. He could only use this stylus that was attached to his cap, and very slowly he could print words. But the surgery that I described to you was done on him as well. The implant is in his motor cortex, and he's thinking of the way he could articulate the words. Actually, this is the most complicated ballet of voice muscles. We cannot even imagine how we could describe it. This would be a Nobel Prize if we were able to describe in details how these signals are born in the brain for accurate articulation of sounds. We don't know how it is all structured, but neural network communicated with his protein network and learned how to make sense of it, knowing each time what he wants to pronounce. And it can actually guess with high degree of accuracy what he wanted to say. Even his close family members and friends cannot understand that how we can hear the sounds of his speech. Another my interlocutor, Nathan Copeland, a cyborg from 37th podcast. Here you can see our attempts to talk on Zoom. We actually managed to talk to each other, and he also tries to print. He's saying to me that he will connect another camera. This is an interesting person because this is the first cyborg where a more ambitious task was resolved. Researchers, well, this person is paralyzed after a car crash, and for 16 years this person has not been able to move his arms or legs. This is quadriplegia. However, he can move a bit. For example, he can move a stick to drink water, but not more than that. Actually, it's not the researchers, it's neural network that managed to understand where in his cortex there are 5 fingers of his hand, and this map of the sensitive cortex is very conservative because he has not used it for many years, but still his fingers take the appropriate place in his cortex. They managed to see all 5 fingers with quite a sophisticated technique. They managed to understand where this feeling of sense is. The story is dramatic. He received 2 surgeries. During the first surgery, 4 electrodes were introduced into his motor cortex and into his sense cortex. So two electrodes in the motor cortex and 2 electrodes in the sense cortex, because they wanted to create a cyborg that would feel everything. And after the wound healed, 3 weeks later, he came to the lab and he came there to visit his robotic arm. So this robotic arm actually is fixed to the table. This is a scheme. His arms do not move, they just lie on the arm steels of his chair, and he's thinking of the way he could take something with this arm. And it was possible. Neural network understood it. It means that motor implants were embedded in a good manner, and neural network can read this information. It cannot explain us how these thoughts of moving manipulator are structured, but he actually got to use this manipulator really well. And the bad news is that the attempt to make a contact between a silicon neural network and protein neural network regarding the feeling of sense failed. And they asked him, do you want to end this experiment? Do you agree that this is a failure? And actually, he had been waiting for this experiment for 10 years. And I would like to emphasize that this generation of cyborgs are doing it for the future generations. They do not do it for themselves. They do not get any advantages. You cannot take it home. And these chips work for several years only. After that, there is no money, or a callus appears at the point of contact between the chip and the brain, and they do it for future generations only. These people are brave, so it's possible to remove everything and add this, or it's possible to conclude that it's possible to do the experiment again and after that remove it, or we do repeated surgery. His mom was against it because he has almost died. He had a stroke, but he remained the same person, and this surgery can be quite dangerous. She was afraid of it. So you understand that it's really scary when you talk about this dialogue between protein neural net and silicon neural net. And of course, this person agreed to have repeated surgery. He's really brave. You can listen to him in my podcast, and it was successful. He had the feeling of sense, so he felt that when he takes something with this black arm, the arm was there and his arm is here, and this hand feels that he has taken something. He can feel whether this is heavy or light, slippery or not. the shape of the object as well. I will not actually dwell upon it. I want to show you the way it works. And I will show it to you now. And what happens in that case, we do not know. We just know that the hand can grab the object in a better way 3 times a week for 5 years. He comes to see his robotic hand and spends 4 hours there. On the right, you can see that if the feeling of sense is switched off, or with his thoughts, he can manage this manipulator, but on the left, he does it twice faster. If the feeling of sense is on, you can see that this task is done twice faster. You need to take the ball, for example. If there is the feeling of sense, he can grab it twice faster. But if there is no sense, it takes more time. It's more complicated. It's really impressive, and it impresses us a lot. This result is possible because 2 neural networks have agreed. It means that he learned to think in a way that computer would understand him. This is a skill, like playing a violin, maybe. But neither Copeland nor computer can explain us what's going on there. What is the structure of the subtle mechanics of the feeling of sense in our mind? When we understand it, probably we will move forward, we will be able to set new tasks for computers, but someone should be responsible for the understanding of it. And right now, this is not neural network. I would like you to answer the question what we can do next, because I cannot understand it from my interviews. So this is the last task, very small object. Try to grab this object on your table, and it was easy for you to do so. We take it for granted. We think that this is easy, but actually it is not so. You can see here that it's more difficult to do it without the feeling of sense. Another interesting story that I would like to tell you. The pandemic started and these experiments stopped. You know, Copeland would have been really depressed in the small room where he lives, but it turned out that he already has these implants, and it means that it's not necessarily to connect this manipulator arm. It's possible to connect anything there, although I mean that they embedded the neural networks know how to use this grab, but the main thing is that we do have this brain arm. It's possible to connect anything, and by that time there was a software ready for a small tablet, and with his thoughts he can manage the cursor. If he wants to press it, he squeezes something with his robotic arm, or probably his arm that lies on his armrest. He cannot actually answer this question. He stopped distinguishing between them, and he cannot actually understand the difference in this feeling of sense. When he wants to take something with the cursor, he feels vibration in the cursor or in the hand. So this border is fake, and the border between neural network and his brain is fake as well. And thanks to that, during the pandemic, he learned how to draw, and actually he drew this cat with his thoughts, and he learned to play video games. And now there will be a very important trial because he learned to play Pong game, and he wants to challenge the most famous ape. Probably you've heard about it, but I want to comment on it. I don't know whether you monitor this project or not. Neuralink of Elon Musk. People that work with neural interface are quite skeptical of the marketing part. Probably it was popularized too much, but the technical ideas are serious. There are breakthroughs here. In the ape, there are wireless sensors. The battery is charged through the skin. The ape has similar set of implants, but there are a lot of electrodes there because the surgery was conducted much later, and the software is on the telephone, not on the computer. The ape thinks that she managed the handle, but actually it's not true. Actually, she managed it with her mind. And Copeland challenged this ape, wants to win, and the question is who will win, the brain of the ape or the brain of the person, of the neural network that trained that was trained by the ape, or neural network that was trained by the person, but the ape has a lot of time. It plays 24 hours to get this juice, but a person can actually do more complicated things. And this is the future of neurointerface. This is an August article in a prestigious journal. The size is of a piece of salt, and there can be about 700 of them in the whole brain.
It looks like a mobile tower for electrodes. We can get even more information from the brain and probably understand what it means, not that much, but still we can work with different tasks this way. And just at the end, I would like to share a couple of examples that bring the subject to even higher level. Right now we talked about some simple things. We talked simply about manipulation and work with objects, but what about more profound things? What about learning? What about training emotions? How does it all work in our brain? Actually, thanks to cyber, we learned a very interesting thing. Paralyzed people who come to the lab, they also undergo some surgical intervention, and they also play some computer game, but after that they fall asleep and get tired, and scientists or doctors, they go to drink tea and forget about them. But at a certain point of time, they forget to turn off all the devices and start reading what happens in the brain when the person is asleep. So here, a person learned to just play a game, can repeat the same patterns from the computer and see what is written there, spiking patterns. That's what happens in the brain. And then some unclear and understandable sign, the so-called abracadabra. It means that we cannot derive any sense from that, but the neural network knows that this mass of spikes, of these impulses, means that it is to the left, to the right, upwards, to the left, right, upwards. And the neural network can derive this information and analyze it. And actually, when the person was asleep, the same happens in the brain. And again, it gave birth to the discussions about our dreams, what happens when we are asleep. Well, actually, neural networks gave us a hint. Scientists for quite a long time thought that this dream is an absolutely important thing. Just listen to the interview with Artem Gladyshev about our dreams. And the point is that actually, while being asleep, the brain finalizes the second stage. Well, it seems like that we finalize this training stage at daytime, but actually the brain continues to do that at nighttime as well. It's just like with rats when they take this epoxide glue, and so there's also some selective kind of memory, and our neural networks inside decide what to do with this or that thing. This is just one example. So it means that the neural network allowed us to see what our dreams is all about and what happens when we are sleeping. By the way, you can find this film, I'm Human, about the first generation of people with interfaces. Very interesting one. You should definitely check it out. So a couple of weeks ago, I learned about Sarah, 46 years old, clinical depression. That's what she was suffering from, and this is a very dangerous disease and cannot be treated. And she was very close to a disaster with her disease, and she decided to sign up as a volunteer for one of the studies, and also she was exposed to a surgical intervention. And I've been analyzing all those efforts for 10 years. 10 years ago, I started to interview surgeons, and one of surgeons was Helen Meiber, and 10 years ago she did that also. So you perform trepanation, you have to actually access the brain, and actually emotions, they are much deeper than our thoughts. Very interesting feature about brain. So back then, 10 years ago, scientists decided that we needed to suppress zone 25, and that's all about that we don't understand how brain actually works. Depression is thus excess of something. Then there is something too much, then it leads to a depression, and we don't have enough knowledge to understand how it works. And I talked to some of the scientists what depression was all about, what actually leads to such a state. Depression, this means lack of something. An experimental way, the decision was made that it's very important to suppress that zone, and then they used electrodes, a battery, and just wires going under the skin, and then they close it, and then people just lived quite a normal life when they actually use current to stimulate some of the brain zones. But as for statistics, it looked like a false operation, so-called false operation. So they don't know whether, people within the control group or not, etc. So a lot of still needs to be done before we understand how it works. But not long ago, an interesting publication was published about Sarah and about her depression. So the first stage, they used electrodes in different emotional centers that could be related to the state of depression, and then the neural networks within a certain period of time start to work, how her depression works. So just if we quote Tolstoy from Anna Karenina, all happy people are unhappy in their own way. So all depressions are different, and actually neural network can learn unique patterns about her depression, and then in the centers, when the analysis is completed, they install electrodes in the right way. Then again, they install this kind of a battery under the skin and stitch it, and then the neural network, when it learns how to work with this depression, and these two neural networks are in close cooperation, and when she experienced this attack of depression, then the neural networks, they start to work a little bit differently, affect those zones that should be stimulated. And it's very difficult to explain how it works, but it works in a fantastic way. But she feels it instinctively and very quickly that the state and the condition really improves, and her brain is kind of a dialogue platform for communication between two neural networks. We don't know what depression is actually all about, but we know that it's also about some impulses coming from our brain, but we can use a computer to give response to the impulses, and also it is used to solve the problem of depression. And then I don't know what next. Probably we will stay at this level. We will just improve this kind of an instrument, or probably you will come with a certain way to make neural network explain us what depression is, what memory is, what dreams are all about, what movement is, what is difference between I don't know movements made by pianists or some other specialists. I don't know, other people. That is very interesting, fantastic. Thank you very much. I think that as for these studies and for this work, we know that they're well underway. We'll be moving forward, and guys participating in our contest, of course, they will be helping the science to do that. And actually, we received a number of questions from our audience. Don't you mind if I say what the questions are? So this device that is attached directly to the brain, from Cyberx. So how it is done, how it is connected to the brain, directly or through a certain network? Well, different devices work differently, but if we give, for example, that case, for example, Nathan coal plant, I've just shared. I'm just scrolling down to find the right picture. So the point is that here in our heads we have a certain kind of insertion, and if it's treated properly, they don't just have a risk of any infection. So the brain is connected to the computer, and then we have their neural network that learned to actually accept signals. But it also can be connected to the internet. We had very interesting examples examples. One rat in one city in São Paulo in Brazil also managed the behavior of another rat in Boston. So it's just controlled its behavior and also sent some impulses to that rat. Principal Miguel Nicoleles. Very interesting technologies, artificial intelligence and neural networks. I mean, in this particular domain, what will be with these technologies in 20 years down the road? So when a baseball coach was asked about one of our coming seasons, he said it's very difficult to make any predictions, especially regarding our future. We'll see what future holds for us. It's very difficult to make any conclusions, but I think that just like any instrument, it will evolve in time. It will become more precise. This is point number one. If we talk about 10 years, I don't know, but 20 years, if we talk about this perspective, a lot of people say that it would be nice if those interfaces could be less invasive, so without drilling the crane and without trepanation through the skin, then it could become more affordable, available for ordinary people, and it could become a unique page in the history of humankind. And one more question: in future, probably we'll be able to receive information about different information with the help of neural networks when we are asleep at night time, for example. Whether this information can be actually uploaded in our brain, it's very difficult to answer that question because we don't know what dreams are, what happens with our brain when we are awakened and we are asleep, and we don't know how information is recorded by our brain. So if we find a question to this, an answer to this question, then probably we'll be able to answer this question as well. And one more question: what is the most complicated scientific task has so far been solved by neural network or computers? The point is that these deep learning neural networks, they are very good, for example, at chess. They can play chess, incredibly efficiently. For example, there are some articles about that, so they could be interesting for you. So I'm just going to try to formulate it in simple terms. The point is that the main task is also, for example, they can estimate the coagulation of proteins and how they work in our body. We know that those, for example, DNA, this special structure and 3D structure, and it's very difficult, for example, to see how some elements in our body give birth to some other elements, and especially when we talk about proteins. So this is a very big case study, which is one of big blocks in biology right now. It could also change our future. We are working on that right now. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best. And success. Dear friend, we can see that there are more and more people joining us online. But just like in a previous stage, I should say that, yes, we're going to have a lot of questions. So I think that we should have some kind of a roll call and see who is there with us. I would like to remind you that also should get registered and log into the system to stay active and to address your questions to the speakers, to us. So I would like to get some feedback from you. Can you send the applauses if you are with us, if you are there, if you are tuned? Please ask your questions and don't be shy. We are now moving forward. And now, what about the following question? What do we get when we just share our post or some video or some work on the internet? Well, first, you get a certain piece of pleasure, probably money. It would be nice, I mean, when you, if you could get money for all your publications, etc. But also, we are talking about comments from other users, and sometimes the internet, we exposed to some comments coming from the so-called software critics. But we have a very serious contest, and today we are going to receive comments regarding those 10 tasks you have studied and you've been working with, and it will be received from competence experts in this case. And I would like to remind you, if during the presentations of our experts you have questions, please address them to the speakers in our chat, and later on I will also address them to our experts. Well, let's introduce our experts, and we will start with the track called Inclusive Environments. Author VR Laboratory Sber, and I would like to invite the head of this track. She graduated from the Magister of Math and Computing at Moscow State University. She also was the winner of youth contest Umnik 2000, and she knows how to speak in public places in front of public audience. Engineer, developer, computer vision, VR lab, Sber, Alexandra Anzina. Good afternoon. I actually graduated from a faculty computing, mathematics, and cybernetics at Moscow State University. Well, I worked with gesture recognition, and this is one of the major focuses in my work. And I would like also to tell you a bit about major events that happened in this industry. So basically in Russia we had two major events. Well, first we started to work with a special neural method that can recognize a lot of gestures with a quite high level of accuracy, and also a prototype of digital avatar was presented to the public, and this avatar could translate it by this avatar in the sign language. The point is that Snapchat is such a big company which is very popular for its mask, and Instagram and all those, ears, which is far from the sign language, managed to create a special filter allowing children to study the basics of American Sign Language. The point is that you just show some gestures to your smartphone, for example, fish, and if you've done it correctly, then you will see a fish swimming in augmented reality, and you thus can teach your children to work with sign language. Also in China, online translator virtual assistants were also presented to the public, and so they can translate in real time, using Chinese language in the sign language with a high level of precision, 85%. Virtual assistants become an integral part of our life. They can also help hard of hearing people, allow them to understand our reality better, etc. Well, at least it is the case in China. I would like to highlight that Adaptiscon, the special conference, was conducted in September, and the first prototype or assistant was presented there, and it can live in your port. It can operate and work on iOS and Android platform, and it can translate films and different movies in a special gesture language, and people can use this and understand the content. Apart from that, I would like to draw attention to the fact that in our contest we didn't have that many works compared to other tracks. But I would like to say a few words about two teams, Silver and Sabem Garage. And to the left-hand side you can see some figures. Actually these are very important metrics allowing us to understand how guys actually taught their neural networks. We tested within a private and personal, private and public data set, and analyzed the number of recognized gesture sign here we can see that 95% of gestures, they were classified and interpreted in the right way. Very often we have the following problem when young experts, they work with neural networks and try to reteach them. And even if they do it, then still they have quite a very good threshold, 8%. But if they work with private space, then it goes a little bit down up to 85%. It means that with this particular data set here, the neural network probably did not work correctly. They used their own data sets that they found, for example, for cutting fragments, parts of hands, and use these parameters, develop a very good interface where you can upload videos, and there you can see how gestures can be interpreted into the Russian languages, what kind of gesture was demonstrated. And one more team, which is called Pradam Garage, in the private data sets, they gave us a very good level of precision, 85%. That means that they taught the neural networks very efficiently.
This is almost a product solution. This is a very good solution for this competition. And they took this idea from baseline. They used the architecture that uses 3D data. They taught this neural net, and they use the mode of webcam. It means that you can show some signs, and it will recognize the signs. I actually tried it already. And you can ask us, what is this closed data set about? Probably you used wrong information, that's why it did not function. Actually, no. This data set used similar parameters, but there were a bit fewer videos. 1,400 videos for 51 classes. The same 51 classes were given for training. These are 33 letters from dactyl alphabet and 18 words such as mom, dad, grandma, read, and others. We had time limit, not more than 1 minute for one video, and we checked the solution on this sampling. The part of the slide on the right that shows video previews is mostly interesting for the school children that participated in this context. So you can see that most goals are similar here. This was a training data set, but there was one secret goal whom no one could see apart from us. She was in the closed sampling, and it was really easy for us to understand whether the kids have taught neural net good or no. That's it for me. Do you have questions? Thank you, Alexandra. We do have several questions. Will it be possible to use this technology in the reality, connecting to the screen and thinking, and show it on the screen? Well, as I understood, this question actually originates from the presentation before me devoted to neural nets. And this task was set in such a manner that we were resolving the task of a computer vision. So we have specific video, specific stream. And when we speak about thoughts, about ideas, these can be a set of bytes or another format of information transmission. And probably it's possible to resolve it, but using the way that we used in our task, no. Okay, Alexandra. Another question. How long did it take you to collect data set with science? Okay, our lab collects data sets quite frequently because we resolve a lot of tasks of computer vision, video processing, and text analysis. And this huge data set of 51 class was gathered by us within several weeks. Okay, one more question. The question as follows. The task that was given, how applicable is it for the real life? speaking about universal translator, so we have a person that shows signs, and there's an automatic interpretation into Russian language. Of course, there will be much more problems here compared with the task set to the school children, because the signs are very fast and the borders between the signs can be really vague, and this task can be a small step to resolve the major task of universal sign translator. Alexandra, there is another question that our kids ask you. Do you resolve such tasks in your lab? Right now we're not doing it, but we have other very interesting tasks, such as lip-sync task, when we have an audio file and the movements of lips of a virtual avatar are generated, whereas tasks of computer vision related to semantic segmentation, for example, the semantic segmentation of hair and making 3D reconstruction of people and many other things. Okay, Alexandra, I understand you cannot develop on all the details of that. Another question. Is it possible to resolve the task of yellow V4 and to determine signs by shots? Actually, I graduated from Moscow State University from the Faculty of Engineering, but I do not understand this question. Well, there are static signs, for example, a letter, and then dynamic signs, for example, two letters are used. A book, for example, probably I showed it in a wrong way. I'm not an expert in sign language, but if you have static signs, it's possible to recognize them by one picture. But when there is dynamics, you need several shots in a row to analyze it. You can use yellow, V1, V2, no matter. But in this task, you will have to use it several times for many shots to understand what's going on. Thanks a lot, dear friends. Let's thank our first tracker, Alexandra Anzina, and let's move forward. Dear friends, thanks a lot for your questions. And as I promised, we also have several interesting questions for you. And we have valuable prizes that we would like to exchange for your right answers. Right now, we'd like to conduct the first round of our quiz. For the first prize, the prize that is right in front of me, this is a hybrid charger and wireless charger. 2-in-1 for one correct answer. The rules are similar as for the comments. I ask you a question, you write your answer in the comments under our YouTube broadcasting, and the person that answers correctly wins. If you are ready, we start. The question is, you live in a city where there are no birds. You were asked to develop a detector of airplanes that fly above the city. You have a data set, photo of the sky and information whether there is an airplane on the floor or no. Will it be appropriate to use this neural network that was trained on this data set in a different city where there are birds? Why? Why is important? We're waiting for your comments on YouTube. Well, I think that the process is going on, so we need to think over this task. However, we actually selected quite a simple question. Quite a simple task. Just in case, if it's necessary, I can repeat the question. We have a correct answer. And this is Nikita Intekov. Nikita, we congratulate you. Of course. The answer is, it's not appropriate to use this data set. Why? Because the data set does not correspond to the real world. We congratulate Nikita and we go on. Dear friends, our next track, Artificial Intelligence in Transport. The author is City Mobile, and it's my pleasure to invite here the head of the track. And we can say that this is a computer expert in languages because he knows more than 5 programming languages. He has been a developer since the age of 13, and apart from that, he learned another important skill. He learned to swim, and he says that he can swim for a long distance. We will trust him, and we will give him the word right now. The head of Dynamic Pricing Group of City Mobile, Artem Solohin. Please give him a warm welcome. Hello, Artem. We're happy to welcome you. Please go to the center. Well, yes, you can make a step forward. Thank you. Artem, the floor is yours. Hello, everyone. Anton, thank you for introducing me. I represent Transport Track and I work for City Mobile. Today, at first, we will speak about the news of the industry. And after that, we will discuss the contest, the tasks. We will remind you about the tasks, and speak about the solutions. So, the industry of transportation has a lot of developments. Of course, the most interesting issue is unmanned cars, and Sber has its unmanned car as well, that is Flip. It used to be your mobile company, probably have heard about it, a debate about 7 years ago, and now this is Flip by Sber, and inside this Flip there are other cool companies such as Double Jizz, Sber Zvuk, Cinema, Salute, and this is a really cool unmanned car or taxi, about 6 people. It will seat about 6 people, and besides, in transport industry, there are non-standard developments. For example, Google thinks of environment, and in Google Maps you can see eco-friendly routes where the carbon footprint will be the lowest. Unfortunately, it is available in the USA only for now, but in the near future it will be available in other countries. And if we move to the reality, if we move to Moscow, we will see that recently a system of controlling taxi drivers was launched. So the system controls late hours of taxi drivers and the way they work. Now, every taxi driver in Moscow and Moscow region should register on the system that monitors the time they are driving, whether they have enough experience to drive in this route, and working hours, and if taxi drivers have not had medical check-up before work, they will not be admitted. If they do not have the appropriate rights, they will not be admitted either. These are simple rules that are useful for business. And another news that I would like to emphasize is the news from Cognitive Pilot company. This company is really cool. They do a lot of things. They're engaged in unmanned transport in principle, and specifically they have very interesting developments for trams and agricultural vehicles. For agricultural vehicles, they develop automated system for harvesting, and the machine is stopped if it is next to an obstacle. For example, if there is a person or an animal in the field, this harvester would be stopped, and the work is really precise. That's why the efficiency of harvesting goes up. They have a lot of data. It's difficult to work with them. Millions of shots per second or even more. It should be placed manually, and probably it is not very efficient. There can be some errors, or it should be done automatically. And these guys found a way how to do it automatically. So let's move on to the solutions. At first, I would like to remind you about the tasks of our competition. The first task was to classify the aggressiveness of drive. The second task, to determine the reason why this ride was classified as aggressive. And the third task is to determine the parts of the track where the driver was behaving aggressively, was driving aggressively. So what about the solutions here? Let's start from more general solutions, and after that we will move to more detailed solutions. Style and repeatability, of course. It's very pleasant to see the code with documents, README documents, and this code should also have config package, for example, poetry config or requirements.txt. And what else is very important, this code should function, so it would be possible just to launch it. And if all of that is structured, and if several points are made here, I want to say that please comment your code, provide the documents. Secondly, try to reproduce your code. Try to make sure that it works, even in the environment where you hadn't worked yet. Try transferring the code to another folder, and remember to transfer all the files there. And do not leave old committed code in your working solutions. Do not leave the old committed code. That is not necessary. Besides, remember that if you had already submitted your solution, it's necessary to specify all the parts of solutions there. If you did something, after that you removed it, but actually the next part depends on the previous one, the one that had been removed, it would be difficult for us to assess the task. We saw these mistakes in some solutions. Another point, presentation. Your solutions are really cool, and our team really liked them. Frankly speaking, I did not expect that school children can develop such good solutions. And I would say that some solutions were at an industrial level. However, you need to be able to sell your solutions. When we meet, you shouldn't say that we start the input of libraries here. After that, we use this library and introduce X and Y there. You need to start from more general information. You need to say that today we have gathered here due to this reason. After that, you speak about the plan of the meeting, and you should smoothly lead your interlocutor following this plan. At first, we will speak about classification of aggressiveness of rights. After that, we will determine the reasons. After that, we will determine the parts of the track where the driving was aggressive. And you also need to remember, actually, it's even the main thing. Please remember that City Mobile team came to this context not to receive some use from your model. We came here to receive a good business solution that allows us to detect the aggressiveness of rights and increase security on the roads. And when you demonstrate your solution, we want your solution to be workable, to cope with these functions well. Another point. This is structure and continuity. Remember that there are specific steps of solutions. First of all, you need to analyze the business problem and understand what industrial approaches are used. Probably you need to take a deeper look at the business problem that is being resolved. After that, we move on to data analysis. Remember about that, because data analysis is the most important step. You need to understand what kind of data you have and how you can use it. Probably it's necessary to clean the data and not to introduce some data into the model. So do not introduce the source data set into the model at once. Once again, I would like to emphasize, because it's really important, at this stage you need to make most efforts, because it will bring you most value as a rule. After that, you need to prepare the data. This data preparation stage is associated with data analysis. Based on the data analysis, you understand what to do and you build your model, but also remember to interpret your model. You need to look at the gaps in your data and their features. Within this slide, I can say the following. Read about the frameworks, about working with this model. Look at IBM and Microsoft because they have good structural frameworks. And also remember to interpret your models. Remember to use sharp, line, or something like that. Another point is working with the model.
Well, actually, all the participants of our tracks used CarBoost, but CatBoost, but you shouldn't forget about other algorithm, etc. We also have linear models. You shouldn't think only about convenience and think only about this criteria and just see based on that criteria whether it suits you or not. So you should also need to look at some features and at metrics and take decision afterwards. And as for hyperparameters, you'd better not to go for hard coding. And even if you hard code, still you should also show a code or precondition how you actually get this hyperparameters. So you can see a search, grand tune, grid search, etc., or Optune. And another point is that don't forget about graphic routes within access, FPR, TPR, and some other tips I'd like to share with you. Don't forget to read very attentively all those recommendations and requirements specified by the organizers of the contest. Don't forget about not just a task, but also subtasks. Don't try to come up with some very complicated solutions. Don't forget that first you need to solve some business problems without making it too complicated. And don't lose your hope. We have one of the teams, they lost their hope completely in August and they quit, gave up completely. They thought that they wouldn't be able to make it to the finals, but actually right now they are in the leading position within this context. Thank you very much for your interest. Thank you very much, Anton. Well, it's very important to believe that you can win, and this is very important for us as human beings. Not the most important one, but still one of very important features. So here is the question, should we actually look at standard deviation rockouts when you use grid search? That's a very interesting question. As for your WCAG, it can be quite average, but generally, if we look at them, those who are of quite an average nature, they might be high simply because there we have some emissions. So, for example, when you have a very small size sampling, or you have a lot of fold-offs, it might happen, but it can sometimes be explained by a situation where, for example, in the sampling, you have some very important emissions, and the point is that they can shift your quality metrics, reshape it a little bit. What should we do about that? You can either cut down the number of fold-offs or probably do something about sampling, or you can also look very important, look at very coefficient, every coefficient of your feature, and remove those who are so-called noisy, or probably sieve a little bit your results to get the most important data. Thank you very much for your support and for your presentation. Our next tracker is Artem Solouhin. Thank you very much. And let's move forward. So, dear friends, and here is our next prize for the right answer to a second question. So, here is a special set for the winner. Here is the question. For example, you get a robot spider, but it moves a little bit weird way, and you want to teach this spider to move just like an ordinary spider. What kind of training could give you best results ever in this situation? Oh, we have already received the correct answer. So the correct answer, Amogen. Amogen. Our participants with the nickname Amogen gave us the right answer. Yes, here we should use reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning is the best option in this kind of a situation. Again, I would like to congratulate you on the right answer. This prize is yours, and we are now moving to our third track. So, dear friends, our next track, it is called Natural Language Processing, developed by Sber devices, and I'm inviting the head of this track to the studio. Our next speaker works at Sber devices, Sber, and works with different algorithms for virtual assistants of Sber Salute. Apart from that, our guest is also one of the professors at the High School of Economics. She loves her work in the sphere of artificial intelligence. Yes, it is developing at very rapid pace, and we always have to learn something new. I would like to invite to the studio Chief Engineer for Sber Devices Development, Maria Tikhonova. Maria, hello. So over to you. Good afternoon, Maria is Maria Tikhonova, and today I'm presenting this track where we work with natural language processing. This is a special sphere of data science that deals with a task related to natural language and text. We have a lot of it around us because text, this is the basic way of communication and data transfer amongst us. And it seems like artificial intelligence systems without text and without natural language, well, it cannot just work without that. Today, natural language processes is developing very quickly, and as for major achievements, you can see that it has an all pervasive presence. Inevitably, we think about chat box, but it's not limited to that. This is one of the most popular usage of this NLP, but also here we use like machine translation, Yandex translation, Google translation, and not only every time when you send a request to the search engine, and I think that everyone today has already Googled many things, and every time you send your request, you actually use this NLP, but apart from applied use of this approach in business, also it has a very important fundamental significance. Like I said, text is just a way or a tool for our communication, and a reflection of how we use AI, and NLP is something that can be used to assess the level of development of artificial intelligence and computer with the help of natural language. It was first done in the framework of a Turing test. This is one of the major tests that can be used to assess the capacity of computer, and recently NLP has really developed. I think that it all started approximately 10 years ago when the first algorithm word2vec was suggested, and we started to work with the different vector and how words were coded there and analyze different semantic connection links between words, their interaction, and thanks to that, actually a real revolution happens in the sphere of NLP AI systems. In terms of our work with text, it was really brought to a brand new level, and today we can see some great achievements based on transformer architecture. It was suggested in 2017. Actually, recent achievements in NLP and latest success in NLP and big language models. This is something impressive. Today, such models can work not just with tasks related to understanding of natural language, but also it allows us to understand how we want to communicate with a person, how we're going to imitate emotions or style of a person. And neural networks can even make jokes today, which is really, really impressive. And latest achievements when we have such an interdisciplinary achievements when neural networks, they actually use big textual description and generate big pictures and previously that they haven't seen previously. But let's talk about our task and the results demonstrated by our participants. In the framework of the track, they worked with open domain question answering, and specifically they were meant to create a system that could answer the most complicated question in the world. Do you remember autostop along the galaxy? That question was addressed there. Our task was a little bit simpler, but still the AI was supposed to answer questions in the text, but it wasn't hidden there. And in order to do that, AI system had to use some external knowledge, information received again from outside and answer this question. For example, we gave it some text about Pushkin, and the system had to answer the phone question: when was the 5 of Pushkin born? At the same time, it was not mentioned in the text. The question is not that simple. I think that I wouldn't be able to answer it just like that. But at the same time, we had major constraints, so it's not was allowed to use some payable content, and you cannot just Google it. So we cannot just was possible to go to Google and to use the search line, and we kept a very close eye on that. Otherwise, we would just turn our contents in who actually can use Google faster and etc. But at the same time, we allowed to use any open sources of data, for example, Wikipedia, and it became the main source of information for our algorithm and for our contestants, and some other sources as well. They could also be used on provision that it was not just use of a search engine and that's it. So as a result, we wanted to get some kind of ready-made product, like for example chatbot or mobile application or maybe even website that could reflect the idea of open domain question answering. For example, our contestants created very, very interesting chat box where you could ask questions, and well, basically, very often they gave very relevant answers. And I would like to also say a few words as to how we assessed the solutions. So we used two standard metrics. The first one is the percentage of correct answers, which is called exact match, and the next one is F1 score or average. These are two classical metrics, and they are usually typically used in this question answering. A few words about approaches. Well, basically, all the participants had the same classical approach to this task. They created a special system that had a certain database, and at the very initial stage, so these days, basically it was Wikipedia. They extracted relevant articles, for example, subjects that we mentioned, for example, Pushkin and his wife. And after that, they proceeded to the next, second stage of algorithm. And with the help of machine learning and machine reading, this information found with the help of retriever analyzed these articles and gave answer to the question. One of very important features was that here we saw that almost everyone used Wikipedia, and after that, different algorithm during processing in order to find the most precise answer ever possible. And we really received very, very interesting solutions. We were really impressed. Guys, honestly speaking, I would like to say that you did a great job. You are cool, and when I look at your achievements and your results, I understand that future belongs to you. Thank you. Maria, thank you very much. But our participants and also we have some questions from the audience. For example, the following question. One person asked the following question, and there, here it is. Why virtual systems prefer to argue with me rather than agree with me? It depends on the virtual assistant in question, but if we talk about our virtual assistants, Salute, since I'm here representative of Sber device, so I'm responsible for this part, I can say a few words about this one. We want our virtual assistants to be for people, not just assistants, but also to be a friend that you'd love to communicate with, something that can give you a certain advice or tip. Well, it's also the case with our friends. They do not always agree with you, and actually this is the very interesting aspects about such virtual assistants. We want to be them more for human nature. Yes, so that was a very emotional aspect, very important one. And another question from the chat. So, you personally, what particularly attracts you, your attention in the NLP? I like data science in general, and I like NLP, and I like that this domain is developing very rapidly. Thus, for example, every month we receive more and more articles. You always can try them. You can really just to discover some new facts and things, and also everything that you studied at school, at universities, etc. You can use your knowledge in practice and get a very interesting results. So just like this, within a short period of time, you teach a neural network to generate some funny stories. So when neural networks can make jokes, that is really great. You understand that this is science, but at the same time, it's really interesting, and you want to really dig deeper into that and to find out more about that. You're already an expert in this area. What would you suggest suggest to those who just started to work with NLP and data science? What would be your recommendation? Don't be afraid to try something new, and don't wait for your graduation to start. As for solutions provided by our guys, again point out to this fact. Start work with data science, computer vision, NLP, so on and so forth. You can already do it at school, and the level that was demonstrated by our participants and those I was teaching, it's really great. It's very, very great, and they have already received certain success in this area. So just never stop there. Keep on moving forward. Don't think that I'm just a kid yet. I'll wait for the graduation and then I will find a job and I will start working in this area. No, the earlier you start, the better. You will definitely succeed. Our expert, Maria Tikhonova. Masha, thank you very much. Dear friends, and we are moving forward. So, dear friends, and we are ready to proceed to our next quiz and prize. So, as for the winner, he will receive, or she, this very beautiful column in form of matryoshka. So, imagine that mother brought you a USB with gigabytes of audio recordings from musical concerts, but the data was damaged, and now in some of the recordings you can see some squeaky sounds. So what kind of networks are used for identifying all those anomalies and all those problems? We have already received an answer. The gamer coder. The gamer coder. I will say it in a Russian transcription. Our winner. Yes, autoencoders. The answer is absolutely correct. They are used for this kind of situation, of course. These neural networks most often used for identifying all those problems, anomalies, etc. We congratulate our winner, and we're now moving to the first track.
Dear friends, the next fourth track is artificial intelligence in robotics. The author is Robotics Lab of Sber, and it's my pleasure to invite here the head of this track. Our guest has graduated from Iranian University and from Bauman University in Moscow as postgraduate studies, and for 3 years he has worked in the lab of robotics in Sber. It may seem that it's not possible for a common person, but just in case, I want to tell you that it was easy for him to recognize traffic lights on the photo. So he's not a robot. Researcher and developer in the sphere of robototechnics, Zabihifar Kassan. Zabihifar, hello. The floor is yours. And if it's okay, can you make a step forward? Okay, thanks. Hello, my name is Hassan. I'm from Robototechnics Lab, and today I would like to introduce you the use of artificial intelligence in robotic technology. In this slide, you can see several examples of artificial intelligence implementation in real world. First of all, this is humanoid robot that is used for service works. The second example is unmanned vehicles used in the sphere of transport. The third example is robotic arm, that is the area of health. And the fourth case is carrier robot for delivery. And in all these cases, artificial intelligence is used. Artificial intelligence plays a major role here. And I would like to explain it to you in details. Service robots can help people to fulfill many types of work at home or at production. Atlas is a humanoid robot developed by Boston Dynamics. This robot can fulfill a lot of missions in saving operations. Its head is 1.8 meters. It can walk, run, jump, and it can fulfill a lot of complicated tasks using artificial intelligence. On the right, you can see our arm. It can recognize objects. It can assess their position and orientation. It can grab the objects and put them to the appropriate place. All of that is possible thanks to artificial intelligence. Unmanned cars. This is a car that is able to move independently thanks to specific software and sensors. There are such sensors as LIDAR, radar, cameras, GPS or GLONASS, and odometric sensors. These technology is also used for delivery robots. And on the right, you can use that using neural networks, it is possible to recognize all the cars, the roads, the buildings and trees. One of the most popular things where artificial intelligence is used is searching for the objects and assessing their position. And to resolve this problem, deep learning approaches are used. This is a general and reliable method. To work with robots, robots should be able to see and recognize the environment just like a human being. In that case, the robots are safe and efficient. So for this task, you need to recognize the object and find its appropriate part for the grasp. You also need to find the point of grasp. After that, you need to learn to fulfill this grasp and it is possible to use detectron too. This is an approach to finding objects. The second part is the most complicated part. It is possible if you use key points and teach the robot to grab the object by key points. Or you can use RL approach when the robot learns by itself and grabs the object by trial and error. And you can see that here robot takes a teapot and pours tea. That's it. Thank you, Hassan. Hassan, if you have time, I would like to ask you several questions received from our audience. Question number 1. How can robot evaluate the position of objects in space? How is it possible? For this purpose, there are a lot of approaches. And we selected key point approach to determine the position and orientation of objects. There are several neural networks to determine fixed pose, but it requires a learned training process. And we selected 2 key points, and we trained the data set to recognize these key points to determine the position and orientation of the object. Thank you, Hassan. And question number 2. How did you train the robot to grasp various objects? What about the training process? For this purpose, once we trained the robot how to grab an object focused on the key points, and after that, when the robot can see a similar object or an object of the same class, it can recall the way it grabbed the object by key points that it had already been trained to do. So there is a memory here, yes. Good, Hassan, thanks a lot for the interesting story. Thank you. Let's thank our expert, dear friends. Once again, I would like to thank you for your applause. And we move forward to the next question of our quiz. Dear friends, our quiz goes on, and the next prize for the correct answer is this smart band. And The description of the question is as follows. You were invited to work for Tesla to develop computer vision algorithm, and on the first day you noticed that it's possible to improve the recognition of borders of pits on the road, and you started to develop a complicated algorithm. The accuracy increased, but the development had not been implemented. Why? We have the correct answer. Thank you, friends. Thanks a lot for taking this active part and answering so fast. Thank you for writing correct answers so fast. Maxim Kirilluk wrote that for such tasks, in Tesla, the speed of recognition plays a decisive role, not the accuracy of recognition of the borders of the ball. Thank you, Maxim. The prize is yours, and we are moving towards the next track. Dear friends, the next track, Artificial Intelligence in Medicine. The author is Bear Matt, and it's my pleasure to introduce the head of this track. He will be here with us online. I would like to say a few words about this expert. He understands what every participant of the contest feels now, because he also used to participate in major competitions. For example, he is the winner of all Russian Olympics on biology, prize winner of Student Bio Tournament, manager of Spare AI products, Alexei Popov. Alexei is being connected to us online. Hello, Alexei, you're on air. We are happy to welcome you in our studio. Can you see everything and hear everything? Yes, I can. The floor is yours. So I've already been introduced, so we can move forward. 4 main events in the industry of medical imaging. Actually, I would like to start from the latest, most important event. This is COVID pandemic. COVID pandemic actually contributed to many areas of medicine. They managed to develop, and they received a lot of financement. That's important for every area of research. Another event that is a bit less significant but still important. This is personal data protection law. These laws are adopted in various countries, and they influence the opportunity to get data a lot. It also has an impact on our industry. Another important event is the beginning of protocol standardization, and for medical imaging, this is the end of protocol standardization. This is the unified format for data storage. As a result, we have a lot of data that are structured and that are stored in one place. That's why it's much easier for machine learning. And the fourth item is a bit ridiculous, but this is development of UNET. UNET is a neural network that has been used by every student. It is developed to segment medical images, and this is the first most famous example of using neural networks for medical imaging. The next slide, please. Speaking in details about protocol standardization, I can say that within this standardization for medical imaging, there are 2 main essences. The first one is PACS. This is system for data storage, for sending data, for receiving data, and this is a database that provides us an opportunity to approach data without breaks. And a unified format for medical data. This is DICOM format. It allows us to store a lot of images within one research and use these images. And also this format allows us to store DICOM tags. These are specific tags for every picture that allow us to assess the distance to these pictures and the device that had been used to make these images, as well as the plane of these images. And that is important to filter the images when they enter the algorithm. Personal data protection law, as I said, such laws are adopted in various countries. And in Russia, they have been adopted recently, a bit later than in the USA, and it helped us avoid the data crisis that's going on in the USA and European countries, when small companies cannot get data for machine learning. And thanks to it, well, due to it, startups grow slower because these are the companies that cannot agree upon partnership with medical institutes to make the neural networks and to help medical science. However, this law is very important. Actually, it allows us to avoid illegal sale of medical data. That's important for the era of digitalization, that when we have not analog data but electronic data that can be sold fast and that can be used for non-medical purposes. These kind of laws are really important. And speaking about COVID, COVID is a driver. It's a way to attract money to the industry. Although, of course, this was a terrible event for each of us. Still, it allowed the authorities to emphasize the problems in the sphere of healthcare, the processing nature of its absence of innovations and lack of funds. And thanks to COVID, we also saw telemedicine development. When we cannot contact, we need to use artificial intelligence, and we need to simplify this process. We need to work remotely to avoid being infected. Now, let's speak about the tasks. What did we expect in our track? We expected that, as I described, due to legal limitations, there will be very little data, and there are very few open data sets on COVID. And some teams, and it was quite surprising for me, and I was very happy that some teams have managed to find approach to data. They have found medical competences, they have found doctors that were able to help them place the data. They even found medical competences that make an important criterion for further assessment of the results, because actually we wanted to see the way you would develop the product, and when developing the product, some teams even used a bit different conditions because they realized that the product, according to the described conditions, would be too simplified and it would not be used in medical institutions, and I would like to especially thank such teams. Actually, teamwork in this track was quite good, and many teams introduced their solutions in different wrappings. Still, many teams have found a solution using COTS series API, and it can be applied in future. Next slide. What criteria are used by medical officers? The first criterion to assess the algorithm is its accuracy when making a diagnosis, the accuracy of segmentation, the accuracy of classification, and the main parameters for which we gave the scores actually included accuracy. The second parameter is speed. Medical study in the time of COVID takes about half an hour, and within this 30 minutes, a doctor should not only describe the study as they did it before, but they also need to send this study. It means that all 200 files should be processed by your algorithm, and the data should be sent back. And on the average, it takes about 15 minutes for current algorithms. It means that your algorithm should work in such a manner that the doctor would be able to do everything. And the third item is fault tolerance. Some medical officers, well, not everyone actually, but some of them do not have the necessary level of programming competences. They are not computer scientists, and that's why it can be quite difficult to use some artificial intelligence algorithms that do not have embedded filtration. And it means that the doctor sends them something and they give an error, and the doctor doesn't even know whom to address. Some teams spoke about it. They showed their faults. And the fourth criterion that is also quite important for medical institutions, this is simplicity of implementation. As I already described before, a doctor is a person with medical education. The medical degree and the best algorithms are algorithms that use one button only, and everything would be fine after the doctor presses one button. And many teams try to implement this solution, but not everyone. In some cases, we saw overloaded interface where it was not possible for a doctor to orient if there are a lot of images, and these should be fixed in the final. The expected values of the measurements we used. These metrics were taken from Moscow experiment, and they were simplified a bit. Actually, in the Moscow experiment, there was a platform for testing such algorithms. And it is expected to get quite high values for DISU and quality metrics. So we simplified these metrics a bit, because I guess it's quite difficult to use them when you're a student. But still, we expected that you will be able to do it. And many teams have reached good results, and in some neural networks, the measurements were similar to these values. And what do we expect on the final? In the finals, our criteria will be a bit different, because you've shown quite good results, and in some cases there was no difference between two teams. That's why in the finals we expect that there will be an opportunity of stream processing of images, the processing of the whole study of 200 images.
Third point. This is a use of particular images, and work with them when we used all the potential tools, and also filtration of junk files that shouldn't be classified, or they might be classified in the wrong way. It's used in order to avoid unnecessary mistakes during the exploitation. Thank you very much for your attention. Alexei, thank you very much. I would like to ask you a question from our audience. It asks what is the path between developed AI algorithm from its commercial implementation in clinical or medical establishments? Yes, I have already heard this question. You see, in order to prepare some basis for commercialization, first of all, products should be formed, then product should be registered on a special state software list. Also, then you need to get a registration passport, this kind of passport or certificate that allows us to use it as a medical device or a medical product. As for AI, based products of this kind, they not that easy from this point of view. It's not that easy to get this kind of a certificate or passport on them. And also, we should substantiate whether it have a direct impact on the life of users. Certain holistic trials should be organized and should be exposed to tests. It takes approximately a year or 2 years to get that. And the next stage is that when you take your algorithm and integrate it into some critical infrastructure, because all the medical establishments, this is still called critical infrastructure of the Russian Federation, and accordingly, there should be a certain procedure, and there is, regarding how actual information is entered into the system and leaves the system, and after that it can be used and exploited. So experts in the fifth track, Alexei Popov. Alexei, thank you very much, and so we are moving forward now. So, dear friends, traditionally our next question, and here it is. But before I actually share it with the audience, I would like to say that those who answer this question correctly, they will ask this set of watch and wireless charger. So after you were fired from Tesla, where you decided to work with the company and to develop a special size filter, they enter SMXXL, and you give to the users the right size of clothes. What kind of neural network should be used for that? We are waiting for your answers, and here we go. The right answer is, it's from Stepan Shabalin. And of course, no neural networks should be used for that matter, because here there is a simple dependence between the size of user and clothes. And this prize goes to you. Thank you. We're now moving to our next track. Next track, artificial intelligence in neural marketing, neuroscience lab. Sber, we invited the head of this track, a unique person, and within a period of 2 months, he realized from an engineer of space robots and became a specialist working with data and neuroscience, researcher of neuroscience lab data, Alisa Lapina. Hello, everyone. Hello, Alisa. Welcome to our studio. Over to you. I just want to say at the very beginning that no matter what results you get, you are on the right way and everything will be just fine. And we are now proceeding to our next track. Today we were lucky enough to listen to a very interesting presentation and about non-invasive interfaces and things like that. But let's proceed to the next news. Neural networks is a very important part of a domain where we use with adaptive technologies. I'm talking about unmanned transport, robots, etc., some other technology tools. But we cannot just teach hardware to do that, but we can also take into consideration our experience, how we interacted with these machinery, and thus, for example, scientists from Columbian University presented neural networks that, judging on the type of driving amongst adults, also see some cognitive deviations and further problems with dementia, for example. Speaking about transport, not long ago, Mercedes-Benz presented their show car from last year, and they updated a little bit. They implemented non-invasive interface. You don't have to drill the crane. You just put on a special device, and with help of that, it collects certain impulses from your brain activities and allows you to manage systems inside the car. For example, change the radio station, change the climate conditions, etc. If we talk about unmanned usage, you can choose a point on the map, and then with the help of your brain, the car will just park your car where you want. I think that this is an incredible development in this sphere. Apart from that, AI in neural networks is also used for a very important domain. Daily in the network, we leave a lot of information. We post some text. We also leave some content there, and with the help of the analysis of this content, we can analyze and identify such diseases as depression, also anxiety. And so the earlier you get this information, the earlier you can go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist to treat those diseases. And very often algorithms that have already been mentioned today, they're used for that matter. For example, narrow languages use processing. What did we decide to do? We didn't want to share any tasks, but we decided to share our experiences. That there is a special system when you assess candidates during the hiring process, and in order to pass this text, the person is positioned in a special stimulation area, so you receive some requests, letters, and though actually you find yourself in a special environment, interact with virtual partners, colleagues, etc. Then these logs are registered and then analyzed, but usually what is done by human beings, it takes a lot of time, but assessors can do it much faster. We had approximately a data set of 11,000 letters and a big number of respondents, and we tried to understand how to bring them together, what kind of features we can take from the text so that this text can be used to attribute a certain score to the respondents. We decided to hide it initially because they did not actually contain any specific information for decision-making process, but there we also had certain scales, like for example systematic thinking, where the respondents have this kind of thinking or not, distal vision, where the respondents can make predictions regarding the future, extraversion, neuroticism, and other parameters. Why did we do that? Well, actually, this solution has a certain business value. The higher throughput capacity the assessors have, the better simulation we can organize within a certain unit of time, and it was particularly relevant for us. We were not, and we didn't limit our young experts by certain amount of time, but we worked with embedding. We tried some linear algorithm and also created some very cool features. We accumulated a lot of experience, but I would like to draw your attention to the fact, especially those who will be still working on their solutions up to the final point. We suggest that probably you should also take some features and add them to your solution. Probably you should look at some, for example, writing patterns and things like that. So that was actually analyzed during this stage. Yes, we might be very intelligent, but sometimes we have certain features, and they make us different from each other. And then it also would be nice to talk about some of the top mistakes
in your style of writing, for example, just to see some of the basic trends. And the way respondents write letters, answer phone calls, they can be segregated into groups. And so those who made it to the top, they have also their own particularities. And so based on that, we could prepare some kind of methodological materials. And also during the preparation of the decision, the system should be in the right condition. It's not just, a space shuttle or something. No, it should be done within quite a short period of time. We need to analyze the speed of decision-making, analysis, and code developments. And for the person who as assessor will be integrating the system into the system, the information, so it should not take too much time. And the interface of dashboards, we gave our participants quite a creative task. They were supposed to pack the results of their work with algorithm for a special dashboard for assessors, where they could select candidates or integrate special parameters regarding such people. And so it was based on the use of special cards. It was absolutely easy to analyze them, store, and work with them in general. So a great job was done and quite successfully. I hope that you also found our feedback useful, and we will be waiting for your new ideas at the next stage. Alisa, thank you very much for such information-intensive speech. We have some questions from our participants, and one of them is as follows. Is there something special about this type of data in this track? Yes, exactly. And the most difficult thing is that we don't have that much of it. It was very difficult to collect another text, to have this simulation. The instrument is quite new, and not so many answered questions we had. We wanted to have a bigger data set to make our algorithm more efficient. Are there any other projects at your lab? We work a lot of things at these connection points where technologies and meet actually neuroscience. For example, our technologists worked with cognitive loads. For example, when did you saw a presentation where you couldn't understand anything at all? And can you imagine how many presentations go through a new employee who come over to work with Sber, and they have to filter out this information, understand it, and then explain it to the customers. So we take very complicated, information-intensive representations. We cut down on the cognitive loads. We try to optimize it to make life simple for them. Yes, this is one of our projects. We work together with such a thing that we create a digital avatar of the customer in order to personalize communication with the customer, so that communication with the ecosystem of Sber could be convenient, not boring, absolutely transparent, just for us to make friends with our customers rather than to complicate things in general. Alisa Lapina, our expert, thank you very much. And now we are moving to our next question of our quiz. So, dear friends, in case you thought that there was no chance left for you to win such kind of a device with wireless charger, no, that was a mistake. Here it is. This is our next prize for the next person who answered the question correctly. So, you write a neural network for a tax fleet, analyzing CVs of candidates for the position of a driver. You use information from RuleNet and information of previous years. Most candidates are men, and what could be the major problem in task of this type? So we're looking at the answers right now. Are there any correct answers? Yes. So do we have? Yes, we do have the right answer.
Это снова Амаген.
And again,
Амаген, друзья мои.
again, again.
Быстрый и сообразительный наш.
Yes, very smart, very intelligent, and very quick person. Yes, right. So the major problem is to eliminate such a factor as prejudice caused by the specifics of data sets. So this hybrid device goes to you, and we are moving to our next track.
Итак, дорогие друзья,
So, dear friends, now track artificial intelligence in
приглашаем
geoservices, two geese, and we invited the head of this track. He likes to work in the forest and read some fantasy. Probably he can also do it at the same time, and he's an expert at math. And people of that kind, they can tackle different tasks at the same time. So he used to be a mathematician, and now an expert in data analysis, two geese, Mikhail.
Пожалуйста, тебе слово.
Over to you. Good afternoon, dear colleagues and competitors. Today we will be talking about geoservices and about artificial intelligence. Let's start with some very important events or trends in this industry, geoservices. First, I would like to say that yes, now we have HD cards. It means maps, high precision maps, 3D maps, and also graph neural networks and their appearance. And now I would like to extrapolate a little bit more on those things. Well, first of all, with the help of neural networks like classification, detection, and segmentation, and similar things, we managed to create high-precision maps, do it really fast, and receive information from different sources. Now we can even make it more precise, and people don't have to go to a certain location just to see whether, for example, a sign or situation in general and the road change in this or that location. That can be done with the help of registers installed in cars. And as far as I know, previously people, they just go physically to certain locations just to make that, to do that. And with the help of reconstruction, we now can create 3D maps. They can be used for orientation and just to have a sense of directions, certain locations. You can see what is there, but at the same time, without leaving your house, you can just walk somewhere around. And the third thing,
These are graph neural networks that have increased the precision of forecasting road traffic. Now it's easier for us to understand where the traffic jams are, and thanks to this, we can better build our routes with higher precision. So, summarizing, what got better? First of all, maps became more accurate thanks to high precision HD maps. Secondly, maps got more complete from the standpoint of information. Apart from road signs, we can see the quality of the road. If there are a lot of holes, we can warn our users. Thirdly, maps became more useful. I guess that is associated with the two previous points because they are more complete, more accurate. It's easier for us to build our routes. That's why they are more useful for the users. And of course, the maps became more interesting. Using 3D maps, we can move, and there are various games devoted to this subject. That's why it's more interesting for people to use cards, to use maps, sorry. And our competitors had one sub-task, building HD maps it is also necessary to classify road signs. It was offered to them to recognize 800 and 181 class of signs and also a junk class where there are no signs. The task of classifying is not very complicated. That's why we decided to make it more complicated, and the training test data sets became closer to real situation. What were the difficulties that the participants faced? These were real data sets. The first difficulty is that our data are gathered from various roads at various time of the day in various situations. It can be evening, morning, daytime, spring, winter, summer, and many photos can be of bad quality, first of all. And secondly, we know on our roads, road signs are not evenly distributed. There are more of some signs and less other signs. And the problem our guys face is imbalance of classes, and also there are signs that are very similar to each other. For example, speed limit. However, there are small differences in the attributes. This is the value of speed. For example, the attribute can be 50, 60, and so on. And little data for training. For some classes, there were 5 examples only. For other classes, there were 600 of them, and that was difficult. And in this regard, I would like to point out that competitors were really creative when fulfilling this task. They offered not only classification networks, but also generative networks for generating artificial data set. And preliminary training, they also proposed auto-encoder architectures, and my colleagues and I had actually things to consider. For example, probably it is necessary for us to go to school once again because the curriculum has obviously changed. Interesting product solutions were proposed. For example, one team developed a website with a mini game where it was necessary to win over artificial intelligence to guess what kind of road sign it is by parts of the image. And if you were faster than the neural network, it means that you won, and if you are slower than the neural network, you lose. And I would like to thank everyone for your attention, and I would like to especially thank the participants of this competition. Thanks a lot for these cool, interesting solutions. Thank you. Mikhail, thanks a lot. We have several questions. The first question is, do you think that in the near future there will be a breakthrough in the sphere of geoservices? That is an interesting question. I think that it's worth considering specific industries. For example, building high-precision maps is already quite efficient. The accuracy is 99%. That's why it seems to me that there will be no significant improvements. Probably there will be some breakthroughs, such as graph neural network to forecast road traffic. I think that in this area there can be some new developments. Okay, thanks. And another question, with what volume of data do you work every day? Can you evaluate it preliminarily? Well, I can evaluate it in kilometers. Per year, we have about 1 million kilometers. We process this data, and using this data, we make our maps more specific, and we make the work of our users simpler. Thanks a lot. I would like to thank our expert, Mikhail, Lisa. Thank you. Give him a round of applause, please. And we move forward. Dear friends, everyone who's watching our broadcasting on YouTube, everyone who's registered in YouTube, who has logged in and who has already tried to write a comment to our broadcasting will be able to win this set for making home videos. All that you need is to be faster than your competitors, because we have very fast and smart competitors, and you need to be faster writing an answer to the following question. Here is the question. Imagine that you are reading old articles about neural networks, and you've noticed that in the hidden layers, sigmoid was almost always used as an activation function, but now it is not used. What is the main reason of rejecting sigmoid?
Итак, будет ли у нас ответ
So,
мгновенный?
will we have the answer at once? An instantaneous answer, yes or no?
Так. Так, я вижу. Павел Николаевич.
Pavel Nikolaev was the first person to answer correctly. The main reason of rejecting it is feed-in gradient. Feed-in gradient. This is the reason why sigmoid was rejected. Pavel, thanks a lot for being with us and for having answered this serious question. Dear friends, we shouldn't stop. Let's move forward. We are moving forward to the next track. Distinguished colleagues, our next track, Selecting Personnel. The author is Работа.ru, and it's my pleasure to invite here the expert on this track. For me, his work is something amazing, and that's not surprising because he used to be a cloud architect of neuron labs in London, and now he is the head of machine learning group from Работа.ru, Mark Panenka. Please give him a warm welcome. Hello, Mark. Hello. Hello, distinguished colleagues. Well, we are waiting for your remarks. I would like to tell you about personnel selection track. I would like to share with you a small insight at once. Many colleagues, participants of the previous tracks, praised the guys that participated in their tracks, but I think that the level shown by our kids is amazing. And in the end, I would like to add a few words about it. I would like to share with you some insights. In this slide, you can see that these are the insights from our area. There is a chatbot, a robot, and the guys that implemented their solution in the form of chatbot. I guess that you will find many new ideas. We have a service for automatic personnel selection. If you are a recruiter or an HR and you are selecting personnel, please assess this service. It applies a lot of models, a lot of contemporary models. And I would like to especially emphasize that there is a recent service of similar vacancies that was launched recently. Why do I want to mention it separately? Because it has a lot of contemporary architecture that it uses quite powerful hardware. Please enter this website, look at similar vacancies, assess this service. Probably you can also share your feedback and your opinion. So the task of classifying. We classified vacancies. The vacancies were united into the following groups. For example, Java developer, Python programmer, or Android developer. This class is developer, and the team was to resolve this task using the provided data. So what are the problems here? Of course, this is the imbalance of classes. We can see it in many tasks, but in our case it was very significant. There are orthographic errors. For example, if the name of the vacancy, yes, it can contain anything starting from salary, finishing with description or languages, and these are real data. I think that it was interesting for our kids to see the real data. That's why we did not clean them. We only cleaned the information that cannot be shown, some personal data. And the problem of the level of the profession, for example, doctor, dentist, surgeon, these are different jobs actually. And if we speak about engineers, Mostly these are data analysis engineers, but all of us understand that there are quite a lot of labor safety engineers or electricians, engineers, and these are very different jobs that are not similar. Of course, these are different classes in our task, and our kids had to deal with that. I'd like to say a few words about data. We had 470,000 vacancies. Of course, there was target everywhere. And you can see the simple diagram. It illustrates the imbalance of classes in this task. So, what was the task? Of course, it was necessary to analyze the data, to clean them, to teach the model to classify the data, and send the file with a forecast to the model. And additionally, if these kids were able to develop a fast service, develop user interface, and pass additional data in the network, we assessed it additionally and we provided additional scoring for it. And we have our star teams that fulfilled this solution, and we were amazed, even shocked by their level. We have top 3 teams that provided ready product solutions, and these are not only the teams of developers. In these teams, there are designers, DevOps, and the teams treated the way to resolve this problem in a different manner. There are screenshots here. Some of them have website. We even conducted load testing of some models because we were able to do that. Because indeed, these kids had developed their solution as possible to approach the investors. So I recommend you to do so. And we were really amazed by the level of these participants. That's why we formulated the following thesis. Personnel selection track is an unbelievably high level of participants. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your story about the teams that participated in the context. We have 2 questions. Please tell us about an interesting case of the participants upon the way the works were presented. Did you like something? Yes, several teams developed product solutions from the standpoint of interface. We have machine learning context, but the kids remember that this is a product, and they realize that the solution will be assessed as a whole. That's why they tried from the standpoint of visual component, convenience and speed. For example, if this model was heavy, they found reader cards. They actually spent their money to host servers, and that was unbelievable. That is really cool. Okay, another question. Can you share some insight in the sphere of machine learning in terms of personnel selection? Well, yes, I can do it. I think that when the second stage is over, we are planning to provide a large pre-trained language model in the open access, and it was developed on the data in the sphere of personnel selection. Guys that were trained on language models used really interesting architecture. I think it will be interesting for you to try it. Please monitor the news, and as soon as we post it, please take it and use it. I hope that it will improve your solutions. Thanks a lot. Our expert, Mark Panenko, a round of applause. Friends, thanks a lot. Thank you, Mark. And we move forward. We have few questions in our quiz, but friends, you still have an opportunity to win this prize. You should be the first person to answer our question. This is a wireless speaker, and the question is quite brief. I hope that you will be able to answer it fast. So we have a neural network for recognizing cacti, but you want to improve it to recognize lilies. What is the name of this approach? What is the name of this approach? We have the correct answer. Again, this is M again. Well, Probably we can choose the second correct answer. What do you think about it? Because Armageddon has already achieved success. Probably his dad is helping him. Probably his dad is High School of Economics graduate. And who was the second winner? Stepan Shabalin. He also used to win, so this is a battle of titans. Do we have the third correct answer? Correct answer number 3. Vod 13. Vod 13. Well, I can see it now. So let's give a prize to the third winner. Dear Vod 13, please be 1 nanosecond prior to our 2 superheroes from Marvel Comics. But you receive this prize, wireless speaker with power bank, and we are moving towards track number 9. Dear friends, track number 9, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence in education. The author is Sber Obrazovania, Sber Education, and it's our pleasure to invite here the head of this track. Now he is a student of the grade FISTech. And several years ago, when he was a school student, he already was the head of Project Studio, the lessons of the present, that has become the best project student. Basha, I'm sure she has things to share with you. Data analysis expert of Sber Obrazovania, Alexander Dremov. Hello. Hello, Alexander. Hi. We're happy to see you now in studio. The floor is yours. Hello, experts and participants of the context. My name is Alexander Dremov. I am a student of FISTech School of Applied Mathematics and Informatics, and I am a developer of track Artificial Intelligence in Education. And what will we discuss today? First of all, we'll speak about the task, we'll speak about the difficulties that you faced, and we will also discuss the approach that you implemented in your solutions that allowed you to become the winners. And what was our task? We actually gave you the texts of school problems, so school tasks, and we asked you to classify them by their sense context. 4 categories: music, animals, sports, and literature. And it was also necessary to select the keywords for this category. Why can this task be presented at this context? At first, we can say a global trend of education personalization. Speaking about math, it is not as interesting to solve some abstract tasks about boy A and boy B, but if you give student a task related to their hobby, for example, football, if the person is interested in football, we give them a task about sports. It means that the interests will grow. And it's also possible to provide a bank of tasks to teachers, and teachers will select tasks for students personally. But first of all, these banks are not classified, and we will have to spend a lot of time of teachers' brain. This is the most powerful neural network to classify the tasks, and of course it will take a lot of time of our teachers, and it wouldn't be implemented. That's why such solutions are needed. And also many people have noticed that digital classes are introduced. There are e-boards, projectors, e-logs, other digital systems, but the approach to education are outdated because it's difficult to implement everything fast, and these small implementations can help teachers to introduce personalized education at school. And what was the difficulty to resolve this task? And the things that you see here are real problems that we faced.
The main problems is sparsity of data and also diversity of text. So what about tasks that were given to you? That was a big text, and just a couple of them created the right category. And as for the neural network, it's difficult to use this kind of approach. We needed some additional processing, etc. Also, text diversity also was was very important. As for and about animals, something could be used for decisions and for tasks and math, etc. And also, you noticed probably when there was a search for some data set. Some of them were just simply missing in the framework of the current task. And also at school, tasks are classified based on the task. For example, symphony, Mozart, different types of grammars. But we hardly analyzed the content. That was the problem. So it was necessary to create own data sets. And now let's talk about what you actually use. We're not going to share all the details and secrets because we are very close to the finals, and I shouldn't share the secrets of the team, but we can identify the basic trends. Well, first of all, you processed task pools. You were supposed to receive some data sets, but still some people and participants took books of biology, and of course all the tasks there was supposed to be related to animals, and similar manipulation could be performed in other categories. In this case, it was very easy to get the right data, and many teams noticed that the presence of a certain words in text sets also a certain category. Simply, for example, we see word animal, then the text probably be about animals, and you also used as one of the main methods, and also stop words and expanded list of stop words. Sometimes such a set of stop words is given from the very beginning, but usually they use for some general subjects, but it could be tailored for our task, and then we could have it expanded. For example, many tasks start with the following wording, task number, or at the answer just give us this kind of example, or just give. I mean, it could be used and be integrated in the list of stop words. And now let's talk about some interesting approaches that you used. The first thing is that you were ready for experiments. Many teams just developed whole articles. For example, we have this approach, then what we get, and then we get that at the end of the day. So those works were quite scientific, and as a result, you also appealed to some sources of literature. You copied, you analyzed different data sets, and etc. It's really great that you studied the problem and you tried to understand what kind of solutions are now available. And the last but not the least is your prod-based solution. We ask you to share your chats, your desktops, and so on, sites of different design, different nature, different approaches, chatbots, pit stop applications. Some even went further and say that the task can be gamified, and it was really interesting. That was done on the basis of Unity. It would be nice to see those teams in the finals. Thank you very much for your attention. And what else would I like to say? A very important point that probably you should pay attention to. Well, Google in English. It's a very useful skill, and you can find more help when you search for information in foreign sources. Also allocate time for preparing your presentation. In the criteria, it was said that the presentation has a direct impact, but of course it also affects how actually your project is perceived. And teamwork. Try to delegate powers, segregate tasks among all the participants so that all the participants and team members know how it works. We had a situation when 5 persons get connected and they were waited for the 6th one because he was the only one who knew how the code works. It is great, but it would be nice if everybody was aware of the common goals. Yes, could you please stay for 1 minute? We have a question for you. We just received a question whether such results will be implemented in practice. And then work. Yes, such projects are now being developed by Sber, and also it's possible to get connected with our developers, and of course it could be used in educational projects, for example. Are there any solutions, for example, available right now in this area? Yes, a lot of participants Googled, search for this information, no such solution. There could be some connects things, could be finds also some classification, but I didn't saw that on a school task. Alexander Dremov, our expert in track number 9. So, dear friends, we are now moving forward, very close to the finish line, and now we proceed to track number 10. Not prize number 10, but prize number 9. And here is quiz number 9. So it is said that device should not be smarter than the owner. And that is why our smart bracelet will be given to someone who will answer the following question correctly. You like lilacs mentioned in the previous question. So, for example, at your grandmother's in countryside, you took a lot of pictures of lilac. Here is the question: what kind of methods is used in computer vision for expanding data set? Yes, we have a question. 154 King. This is the nickname 154. Yes, that's the correct answer. It is called data augmentation. Yes, if, for example, yes, you take a picture of lilies. And yes, you can use this kind of a tool for doing that. So this prize is yours. And now we are moving to the final 10th track of our stage. So, dear friends, track number 10, Creative Industries by Sber AI. And I would like to invite to the stage the leader of this track. This person is also very creative because this person is generating music during the pastime, free time, but also he works as a specialist at Sber AI. Ivan Bazanov. Good afternoon. Hello, Ivan. Thank you very much for coming to our studio. Over to you. Good afternoon, dear colleagues, dear participants of the contest. In fact, I would like to start with the question I hear very often. Why do we need a neural network in creative AI? And it is simple as that. If we talk about the general plan of AI, the most important task of AI is to help people. And if we talk about creative industries, our task is to help the creative people to generate new ideas. But we don't have a task of ousting and moving people away from this creative industry, because still we will definitely have the people working in this area. So I would like to start with some hot news we have received in this industry. It is called multimodal transfer, the jukebox for generated music and voice, and visual transformer. A few more words about that. Multimodal transformer is in fact a very cool idea. And it's all about the fact that when we talk about either generating images, image classification, classification of text, very often we could do it not only just with the help of one neural network or several neural networks, but just one neural network. And it's a very big step forward to quite a strong AI. And the next one is the model generation of pictures. For example, we go to a painter and we ask the painter to make a picture of a lake and a forest. And at the same time, we want to have a deer by that lake. So they come up with a certain image and make a picture. That's how the AI works. We gave this model a text and it generates a certain picture. What about this model? What is so special about that? that it gives very good results, and the quality very often visually is not even different or worse than a real photo. Jukebox, this is music generation based on such parameters as frequency. It has no equivalent. The point is that this can generate a track, but it does not require then to use effects or some other tools for having a ready-made product. And visual transformer, a very interesting model from the point of view is that it represents quite a unique approach to our work with images and the way we work with our images. Here, several ideas are used also from NLP, and thus we get quite a new space for working with images. But at the same time, the result of this model and the efficiency of it is very high. And so now I would like to say a few words about track. It consists of two sub-tasks. They are then segregated also into a number of sub-tracks. And so on one hand, it seems like the task is really complicated. So let's go step by step just to understand how it works. The first sub-point is fairy tale generation. It consists of 4 big blocks. The first one, text generation. At the entry point of the neural network, we give some kind of a plot, basic facts about this plot, and some cliches. And at the end, we received final version of the fairy tale. But we also need to use a voiceover. We have here special speech models also used as part of this product. Then we think that text and voiceover is not enough, but we also should have some music. That is why we need to generate some background music so that we can have a real product. And of course, video parts would be nice, of course, if we talk about fairy tale, to have also some video accompanying its fairy tale. And video clip generation is another interesting feature. It is very similar to the first sub-task, but in the first sub-task, we generate a song and also generate a video clip for this music. This one is even more complicated than fairy tale generation, and it's more difficult when we just generate fairy tales and that's it. We have already seen some solutions, and they turn out to be quite interesting. In fact, it would be nice also to say a few words about assessment system, and I would say that it was quite subjective because creativity is quite a subjective thing, and for a number of blocks we had certain points in order to assess that. I would like to thank all the participants that they participated in this track, and they suggested quite a big number of interesting solutions. I would like to congratulate also us on the end of another stage, and wish you all the best and good luck in the finals. Okay, Ivan, one more minute. We receive a comment and respect to Ivan. Really nice. Yes, that's how it was written. And a couple of questions. Are there alternative ways to generate music? If we talk about the approach when you use the frequency, if it's based on frequency, there is none. But there are some alternative approaches. For example, when we generate music based on different notes, I mean, the way it is written by composers, by other people. We have a very interesting model at Google. It is called Music Transformer. At the same time, we also have our own projects and works. Since I work at BER, I would like to say that it's a part of my work. It's not just something I do during my free time. We already work at a number of projects, and we will be ready to share our results in the near future. And Ivan, one more question for you. Now, what kind of methods are preferable when we talk about generating pictures? In fact, if we talk about open solutions, Temir Transformer, Matyugan, very good architecture, it generates faces in a very high-quality manner. If we talk about some better options than DALL-E, but so far this model, I mean, we don't have any good model there that could be used for that matter. But I think that very soon we will be able to see some new models, and they will be giving us even better results. Dear friends, Ivan Bazanov, our friends, our experts in this track, thank you very much for coming. Dear friends, so let's now proceed to the final question of our quiz. Dear friends, so final question of our quiz. Let's pull ourselves together, and here is a watch with wireless charger. Here is the question. After you are done with lilies, you want to classify comments based on the mentions at Flower Forum, but there are not so many comments. That is why you decide to use data augmentation to group all the comments and to double them 100 times. Data set is huge. What is wrong with this approach? What kind of a problem will you be exposed to during training and learning? So I would say that this is more of a scientific question. That is why we are asking for some serious answer. You cannot just answer yes or not. Okay, let's give it a try. Let's look. And the answers, since this is the last question of our quiz. Oh, I'm again, you were the first to do that. But Nikita Ultikov, he also received his present, and again also received his present. Rushan Khamatyanov, he's answering the question for the first time, and yes, the answer is correct. Well, my congratulations, this prize goes to you. No, it's not data augmentation and data set. There we don't have any data, new data appearing there. I would like to thank all the participants for their answer. Thank you very much, again, and Nikita for staying with us. And now it's time to continue. So, dear friends, we are very close to the most intriguing point of our program, and very soon we will find out who our winners are. But before that, I would like to thank each of you. I would like to thank all those who participated in the online part of our contest, those who was not afraid to face challenges, those who believed in themselves, and those who worked with such a complicated thing as artificial intelligence. I think that even your parents do not really understand what you're working with and why you spend so much time in front of a computer. And by the way, in case you left our Zoom conference by this point and stayed concentrated, focused on our YouTube broadcasting, then go back again to the Zoom when you hear the name of your team, because we would like to see on the screen all the finalists. So just stay tuned and get connected. Those who have access and link to the Zoom meeting.
Great job. You have proven that artificial intelligence shouldn't be afraid of. We just need to use it for the benefit of the humanity. And very soon this instrument will be available for everyone, for every person, and you are a real proof of this idea. Dear friends, now we want you to continue developing in this direction. That's why Sber has developed an Academy of Artificial Intelligence. What is it? How can you enter this academy? Now, the head of the Artificial Intelligence Academy of Charity Foundation Contribution to the Future will tell us about it. Her name is Daria Sadikova.
Илья, привет.
Hello, Daria. Hello.
Это за Академию.
So, what is this academy? It's my pleasure to tell you about it. I'm happy to welcome all the participants, and I'm happy to see many people I know. Many of them have already attended our meetups and events in the Academy. And today I would like to tell you about our work in the sphere of developing artificial intelligence among school children and about the activities of SPARE in this area. Actually, the Academy of Artificial Intelligence was established in 2017, and since 2018 we have grown so much. We have grown in terms of international coverage, the coverage of our audience, and we are doing all of that because we think that it's really important. Now you can see on the slide demonstrated to you that the numbers are huge. 97 million workplaces will be developed by artificial intelligence by 2025. 85 million working places will be eliminated because the processes will be automated, but 97 million new jobs will be created. And the most requested job will be machine learning expert, but we need to understand that there will be experts not only in the sphere of machine learning, and there will be a lot of digital centaurs. These are people that interact with artificial intelligence in other spheres, in medicine, design, education. You've just seen that there were various tracks, actually 10 of them, and these various tracks unite artificial intelligence and some sphere. These are new and interesting solutions, and there will be experts from these spheres that will use these solutions. These are digital centaurs. So, when preparing for this competition, we established a camp, Digital Centaur. This is an educational boot camp where more than 2,000 people participated, and thanks to this camp, these people prepared for this competition, and I hope that thanks for this camp, you were able to show these great results. Artificial Intelligence Academy for School Children is a project of Sberbank Charity Foundation, Contribution to the Future. And within this project, we conduct educational events, contents, and we also started to develop the community recently. So you can enter the website of Artificial Intelligence Academy, subscribe to our news to monitor new developments within the Academy. And I've searched for photos and found this photo from our first hackathon 2017. Here you can see the winner of hackathon, Alexander Mamayev, and he frequently speaks on our meetups today. He speaks about his experience of development in the sphere of data science. This was hackathon, but now we have Olympics. The Olympics is included into the list of Russian register that allows you to enter top Russian universities, and if you win these Olympics you can enter these top universities without exams, and that is really cool that our content is so important. And we always gather real cases from Sber ecosystem. These cases can be applied in practice, and even the kids that do not become the winners can always use these cases in their portfolio. And I recommend you to do it as well. Always take all the projects you developed into your portfolio. And some of you today will end up your way in the international contest, and others will finish it in a week after the finals. But it's not everything, you know that after you solve all these tasks, you can continue solving tasks and join our Olympics. Within our Olympics, it will be possible to win not only preferences for entering universities and monetary prizes, but an opportunity to have an internship in Sber. Top 10 winners can attend our internship even if they are still school students, and this is a great opportunity to check yourself for solving real business tasks. And you can register right now, not to lose time. What else can you do? If you lack some knowledge, you can always pass our course about machine learning at the website of the Academy. It's absolutely free. We frequently mentioned it within our international contest, and probably someone hadn't seen it yet. And if you have younger brothers or sisters who are also interested in artificial intelligence, I think that this is a great starting point for them. They can start studying information about artificial intelligence. And I would also like to mention one more thing. Now, we have an all-Russian educational campaign, digital lesson. It is devoted to the subject of artificial intelligence in education. Digital lesson is a campaign within which we develop content that can be taught at any Russian school, not necessarily Russian schools, schools all over the world. There is an educational video that tells you the theoretical part. There is a simulator you can use by yourself, and there are specific notes, memos, additional information to add something else into this lesson. And today we call on you. You are our ambassadors of artificial intelligence. You are school children, but you are not afraid of using artificial intelligence. So we call on you to try to share this knowledge with your classmates, and together with your teachers or independently at your schools, you can conduct our digital lesson. That's why we are announcing a competition. You will be able to see more detailed information on the chart. You will receive it by email, and we recommend you to conduct this digital lesson at your school using our materials. You can take pictures of this lesson, post it on social media with the hashtag #MyDigitalLesson, and we will give prizes to the winners. We will give them merged products of Artificial Intelligence Academy. It's really cool. Everyone wants it. We know it. And we renew it. We update it every year. We have T-shirts and socks. And the main thing is that we really want you to share your knowledge with others. I know that there are many kids from Russian provinces that sometimes cannot find a co-team player in their town, and it's really great that you are united at a federal level, but I think that it will be also very good if you have your classmates and friends that share your interests and are involved in artificial intelligence studies as well. So I recommend you to conduct this study, and I would like to thank the organizers of this international contest, and I would like to thank the participants. You are great. Thanks a lot for telling about the Artificial Intelligence Academy. Dear friends, Daria Satikova was in this studio. Thanks a lot. And now we are faced with the need to approach the moment for which we had gathered. Who will fight for this prize fund? Who will prove that it was not in vain? We will learn it now. Friends, who can prove that it was not in vain, that it was not fortuitous spending days and weeks in front of their computers? Who will fight for this prize fund? 13 million rubles. 13 million rubles. This is the prize fund, and it will be distributed among the winners. In a moment, we will see who enters the finals. Are you nervous? If yes, please write plus on the chat under our YouTube broadcast, and we can see your feedback. We want to get your feedback, so I can see pluses here. So these are the finalists in each track. Let's start. So the finalists are Artificial Intelligence in Robotic Technology. The first one is Nirvana from Russia and Adam from Russia. Artificial Intelligence in Transport. The finalists are ML Sharviki, Russia Victory, Russia Qualitas, Russia Simple Team, Russia and Belarus. and NLP witnesses from Russia. Artificial intelligence in geo-services. The finalists are CSP Darknet 53, India, Russia, Azerbaijan. Dalton Creek, Russia, G-Deep, Ukraine, FTL, Belarus, Baby Shark, Vietnam, and Accuracy 1, Russia. And medicine. The finalists are Amorgos, Belarus, Mission Possible, Russia, Niger, Miraklidze, Kazakhstan, Stupidity and Courage, Russia, Arbuzaki Team, Russia. Inclusive environment. The finalists are Pradam Garage, Sally Garage, Russia, Silver, Russia, and Deep Learn, Russia. Personal selection. The finalists are беспроигрышный вариант, the best option, Russia. I'll think of it later. Russia, Ukraine, Baby Kegless, Russia, AGI, Russia, SPMBUDO dot from Blagovechinsk Kvartorial of Bashkortostan, Sibur, Russia. AIIJC, Russia. And AIIJC, Russia. Natural language processing NLP. The witnesses are Darklet Team, Russia, Deviants, Russia, Dream, Vishta, Russia, Pakistan, Kyrgyzstan, R4 Lyceum, Russia, and Cool Hatskeri, Russia. That is strange. Let's move forward. Artificial intelligence and neuromarketing. The finalists are Motivators, Russia, Thailand, Speed Hackers, Russia, and Moment of Time, Russia. Artificial intelligence in education. The finalists are Dungeon Masters, Russia, Siberia ML, Russia, Nagi Battery, Kazakhstan, Morpher Boostin, Russia, In Process, Russia, and Drip, Russia. Creative industries. The finalists are Team name, Russia, Tech Moscow, Russia, Sunrise Watches, Russia, Shalin Bratia, India, Akhanim, Russia. Dear friends, we sincerely congratulate the finalists. And now we'll see them on the Zoom. Friends, let's give them a round of applause. Let's wave them. Who can see yourself in Zoom? Who's on there now? Friends, this is a real step forward, one step to the victory. These are the finalists of our international tournament. I congratulate you. Hooray, your round of applause. Friends, let's give them a round of applause. Let's give a round of applause to our finalists. Thanks a lot. Friends, probably you cannot see, but we can see that all experts in this room are also supporting you.
Итак, дорогие друзья, поздравляем вас.
Dear friends, we congratulate you. You cannot imagine what a great job you've done. You've done a great job. I'm not only speaking about finalists, I'm speaking about everyone who took part in this tournament and in all other tours. Many grown-ups are afraid of artificial intelligence. For them, this is something unknown, probably dangerous, but all of you have proven that this instrument can be used and should be used. You should be able to use it and to translate most unbelievable dreams into reality, and you've also shown a great teamwork. This is also relevant. Everyone who has not become finalists today, please don't be upset. You can attend Artificial Intelligence Academy of Sphere, and finalists will face new tasks on their way to the victory and 13 million rubles on the finish of this contest. Starting from tomorrow, you will improve your solutions together with the experts in this room. You will have a webinar on the work with Christopher's supercomputer, and at the platform you will get new tasks. All the teams that will improve their solutions in the final tasks will be announced, the winners, and the team that gets the highest score in their track will become the absolute champion and will get 1 million. It will be for all tracks apart from creative industry, and in this track the champion will get a certificate. No, I'm kidding. The matter is that in creative industry track, they were quite creative about awards, and there will be not 1 monetary prize, but 5 of them. I wish good luck to all finalists. We are saying see you on super finals.